And we're back. Perhaps at some point I would have stopped to think about the time, or how suspicious it looks for a guy to enter the girls' dorm at this hour. Except right now I'm just concerned with getting to Emmy and finding out what's wrong and how I can help her. I knock on the door and I'm greeted by a subdued "come in." Something is very wrong as I stare at the scene before me. Emmy's there, yes, but she's in a wheelchair. And her legs are missing. I glance around the room to see them sitting in a corner looking like they've been thrown there. Emmy responds to my entrance with a lopsided grin that is both pleased to see me and completely, utterly heartbroken. Hi, Izzo. Looks like she's been crying, but if she was, she's stopped now. Notice I'm a little out of breath, having taken the stairs 2 at a time in order to get here. My heart doesn't seem to mind the strain, though. I file this happy fact away for later consideration. Like when I am not staring somewhat dumbstruck at my girlfriend in a wheelchair. Realizing I've still not responded to her greeting, my brain lurches into gear. Emmy, what happened? I guess I should have listened to you, Izzo. My leg's got a nasty infection. I'm not allowed to run for at least a couple of weeks. She gives a bitter laugh that shouldn't be coming from her. I can't even walk on it. Could have used the crutch to keep one of my legs, but I didn't see the point. Why hop? You can't run on one leg. At least this way I can still, I don't know, roll fast or something. Yeah, that's good, right? My awkward attempt to look on the bright side seems appreciated, but not really effective. Emmy shrugs again. It's just kind of a nuisance. I mean, we can't even eat up on the roof, and now no wheelchair access. Yeah, but that's not a big deal, right? I mean, we can still eat together, and that's the important thing. That lopsided grin, again, it hurts to look at. I suppose so, yeah. But like I said, it's a nuisance. I mean, I haven't really used the wheelchair, and she thinks for a minute. Maybe 7 years, something like that anyway. A long time. I'm afraid I'm a bit out of practice. Well, fortunately, it's only temporary, right? Emmy nods. Oh yeah, of course. Still like I've lost them permanently. But it's a pain in the ass all the same. I nod sympathetically. Not much else I can do after all. What am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? Say I told you so? Oh, I did tell her to get the leg looked at. But by the time I noticed it was too late anyway. Do you need help with anything? That is, can I help with anything? Emmy shakes her head and there's a bit of her usual grin back. Nah, I can manage fine by myself. Although if you want to help me over to my bed, it would save me the trouble of rolling over there myself. I blush in spite of myself. Emmy giggles. You're such a prude, Izzo. I'm not a prude, I just wouldn't want to take advantage of a young woman such as yourself. It's ungentlemanly. I wheel Emmy's chair to her bed and easily scoop her up and deposit her there. She quickly sorts herself out and sits on the side. She's actually a little heavier than she looks, so it would be rude of me to observe this aloud, of course. Man, you're kind of heavy. Emmy hits me with a pillow. Ass. Just saying is all. This music, though. Must be all that running. This is just like Act 3, but I should probably check, okay. At the mention of running, Emmy's grin falters slightly. Yeah, well, I guess I won't have to worry about that for a bit, huh? Maybe I'll lose some weight. That's what you do to lose weight, right? Cease physical activity. Pretty sure that's what the nurse would recommend. Speaking of which, are you going to still be showing up in the mornings? I'd hate to run alone. Shit. Emmy's sudden interjection, more of a disquieted muttering than anything too profane, causes me to look over in shock. She's leaning forward, trying to cover the fact that she's crying by covering her eyes with a hand. Of course, the subdued sobbing makes it pretty obvious that she's crying. Hey, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything, okay? I place a hand gingerly around her and pull her close. I can think of nothing else to say or do. How do you comfort someone who's just lost their legs again? Emmy wraps me in a hug and stays that way for a while. I'm sorry. I'm pretty bad at this whole comforting thing, I guess. Don't say that. I'm fine, really. Her voice is slightly muffled by my chest. I pat her head reassuringly. That's the spirit, right? You'll get through this fine, I know it. Besides, I'm here to help you, remember? Emmy lifts her head and stares at me with tear-stained eyes. Can you? Can you really? She's grinning lopsidedly and something sparkles in her eye, in her gaze. Can't tell if I'm being mocked or not. Of course, I mean, you're a bit heavy, but... My witty comment is cut off by a sudden press of Emmy's lips on mine. I'm caught off guard and I'm rewarded by hitting my head on the wall behind her bed. Ow. Emmy pulls back, trying to look concerned rather than like she's about to laugh. Are you okay? Sorry. I rub my head ruefully and grin back at her. Yeah, caught me off guard there. Is that going to become a habit? Am I going to be lectured by Shizune and Misha more? At the mention of the duo, Emmy giggles. Honestly, those two. If I didn't know why, I'd be utterly confused as to why she hangs around with someone so bossy. Which one are we talking about? You know exactly which one, Hizao. Misha's hardly bossy. So what's the reason, then? The reason why Misha hangs around Shizune? Because she's the interpreter. Emmy waves my question off with a smile. No idea. I see. Anyway, you seem to be forgetting the original question, don't you? Oh yeah, I guess I am. You wouldn't mind giving a guy a little warning, would you? Otherwise I'm liable to wind up with a concussion. I emphasize the point by rubbing the back of my head. Emmy giggles madly. You could wear a helmet. Some kids here do, you know. Or I could just take revenge. I grab a pillow from beside me and whack Emmy over the head. Emmy topples off the bed and lands on the floor with a thump. Her arms promptly reappear on the bed and she manages to pull herself back up. She has a surprising amount of strength in that little body. Her face is turned downwards and away from mine, making me think I might have accidentally hurt her. Emmy, you okay? A hand shoots up and grabs my collar. She pulls me in with a sharp tug, her face now barely an inch away from mine as she grins cheekily. Emmy? She gives me a sharp headbutt, our foreheads making quite a loud thud. Sit back and rub my now sore head as Emmy smirks victoriously. How's that for revenge? No fair. Can't take revenge for revenge. For someone missing most of her legs, Emmy's surprisingly agile. I swipe at her, but she deftly rolls out of the way and lands a hit with her pillow. Of course, the odds are against her. I can stand up for starters. Oof. I guess I can, after all. Emmy seems to have effectively tripped me up and is now sitting primarily astride... primly? Is that primly or primly? Primly. Astride... and is now sitting primly astride me as I lay on my back. Not even sure how she managed it. I win. Her eyes twinkle mischievously. I've been thoroughly defeated, and by a girl that's a fraction my size, that is, at that. Then again, being defeated doesn't seem quite so bad. Emmy being positioned over my waist isn't something that I, or my body, can ignore easily. I open my lips to speak, but Emmy's head darts downward before I can get so much as a word out. I give no resistance as she presses her mouth to mine, not that I'd want to. This is different somehow. She pulls back, nips in my lower lip, and reinitiates the embrace. Her tongue darts inside my mouth, exploring what in the world. I can feel a warmth spreading through my body as my heart begins to beat faster. My mind starts to go foggy, and I become vaguely aware of my hand trembling up Emmy's blouse. Emmy gasps as I reach her breast, and then there's a giggle, and then... I stare up at a grinning Emmy. Told you that makes my second win now. What? That doesn't count. You used feminine wiles. All's fair in love and war, right? Hey, you're even blushing. I didn't know you were a blusher, Zhao. You were blushing too, you know, probably because of your prudish ways. Even I've got to admit this is a stupid thing to say to a woman who is currently straddling me and has been up until a few seconds ago playing tonsil hockey with me. What in the world? A prude, am I? Well then, let's see who blushes first, shall we? I'm not sure whether the tone of her voice terrifies or arouses me, but that question is quickly made in rather mood. Oh. Okay. Okay. Well... That was kind of sudden. God damn it, game. So, did I blush? I didn't notice. Did I? Emmy shrugged, still breathing a little heavy. Didn't notice either. Well, maybe we should. I need to use your window. My first instinct is to hide, but then I realized I'm still utterly exhausted and sitting next to a topless Emmy, so there's no running anyway. Rin's eyes pass over Emmy and me and focus on the window. There was a cloud. A cloud? Rin nods. I was watching it from my window, but it didn't stay in my window. So I need to use your window. Emmy shifts a little, causing me to cough in order to cover up a giggle of my own. How long do you need the window for? We're, busy. This time I can't contain my laughter. Rin ignores both Emmy and me and peers out the window. Her shoulders slump and she looks disappointed. It changed into something else. Disappointing. Emmy is having trouble keeping a straight face. Sorry to hear that, Rin. Can we have a little privacy now, please? Rin shrugs as if to say, can you? And hooks her foot around the door, pulling it closed behind her. We both dissolve into what the heck is that? Raucous laughter, unable to deal with Rin's bizarrely timed visit any other way. After our laughter dies down, I look to Emmy. We're both a total mess. Well, Emmy raises an eyebrow. Well, again? What? Emmy grins and laughs, and then she nods. What? We should probably ditch the clothes this time. Oh, okay. What? Okay. Okay, sure. The sunlight breaks through my window shortly before my alarm ruins the morning silence. I feel sore. The events of the previous evening suddenly intrude upon my consciousness, and I find myself blushing. That was an eventful evening, and it explains perfectly the soreness in my lower back. The walk back, as I recall, had been rather tense. My trousers having been soiled, I had washed them off in the bathroom before going back to my room. But there was still a fairly obvious-looking stain on the front. Okay, please, Hazao. Fortunately for me, the only person I ran into on my way back was Kenji, and he didn't notice a thing. Well, apart from my being in the general vicinity. Of course, he'd asked how the night went and whether or not I'd learned anything of importance. I don't even know if I opened my mouth to answer. I was too tired to care. And this morning, I'll admit that I'm feeling pretty worn out. Still, Emmy had promised to meet me at the track, and I'd hate to disappoint. She's indeed waiting for me when I arrive, doing her best to look cheery, despite the fact she's sitting in a wheelchair. I'll wave to her and begin stretching. You're early. Emmy frowns and shakes her head. Ridiculous. You're late. Overslept, Hazao? I'll tuck her out. At least she seems more like her old self, and as expected, she doesn't seem that shy about mentioning our previous activities. Hey, you're lucky I could show up at all. All that cardiovascular activity last night, I nearly thought I'd have to see the nurse afterwards. Emmy laughs out loud, and then her face suddenly becomes concerned. Hey, that's not a... I mean, you're not... Go on, spit it out. So that would be hard to explain if you had an episode while we were... Oh. Now that she mentions it, it really is a legitimate concern. I certainly hadn't thought of it last night, of course. Other, more pressing concerns had been at hand. Well, I don't think anything we do is going to be any more of a strain than these morning runs, and I handle those fine, so... Amy considers this point. A devious light appears in her eye. I've never seen that expression before. Say, The light vanishes, and Emmy grins ruefully at me. Can't help but feel vaguely suspicious. I seem to have forgotten to pair her gloves. What do you need gloves for? Emmy indicates the chair upon which she is seated. For this, of course. Sure, regular moving around is all well and good without them, but I want to be able to get a good workout. And to get that kind of speed, you gotta have gloves so you don't want blisters. So what, are you wussing out on me then? Do I have to go it alone? Emmy thinks for a minute, or pretends to think. If I remember right, there's a spare pair or two in the track shed. So she does seriously want to do it then. But in her normal school uniform, I'd have expected her to change to wear her gym outfit for something like this. Wait, what are they doing there? Amy looks askance at me. Seriously, you can't think of why a shed full of track supplies at a school for disabled would have racing gloves? Well, when she puts it that way, I suppose that makes perfect sense. Hey, I'm still getting used to this place. Give me a break, huh? I guess I can let it slide this time. Now come on, I don't need your help. I can't imagine what for, but then again, I didn't have a clue why racing gloves would be in the shed, so I'm not willing to press the issue. Emmy navigates her way to the shed easily enough, though I can hear her grumbling under her breath. It's actually kind of cute. I hurry a little to reach the door first. Opening it will be easier for me than for her. The door opens, and Emmy starts to wheel inside, only to come to a sudden halt at the doorway. It seems the door sill is slightly too high for her to get over by herself. She makes a few runs at it, unsuccessfully, before crossing her eyes and glaring at the offending object. Stupid wheelchair. Hazao, can you give me a hand here? Sure, no problem. It's a simple enough matter for me to bump Emmy over the doorway, jostling her slightly. Hey, easy there. Oops, sorry. It's about this time that I fail to notice where I'm going and run Emmy's chair into a mat. She gives a startled yelp and topples forward out of her chair. There's a moment of silence as I gaze in horror upon what I've done, and Emmy glares at me. Hazao... Yes? Promise me I'll never work at a hospital. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Emmy giggles and holds up a hand. Would you kindly help me back into my chair, Hazao? As I bend down and pick up Emmy, she grins in triumph and pulls me into a kiss that quickly has both of us entirely unconcerned about getting her back into the chair. In fact, as I move to a more comfortable position, I confess that the chair is pushed out the door, which startled by the passage, swings shut. What? What? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, at least we got privacy now, which is a good thing, as my hands work quickly to remove Emmy's blouse and skirt. Yeah, I'd say they were gone in like a half a second. I'm startled to discover that she's forgotten to put on her bra, and today, did she plan this? Her arms hook under mine and rest on my shoulders as I kiss my way down Emmy's neck, pausing to give special attention to a spot right where the neck meets the shoulder that I found last night. You've gotten pretty good at... I do try. Emmy pushes on my chest insistently, and I draw back with a puzzled expression. I got a confession, Izao. Oh. Having pulled back, I decide instead to focus my attention on her breast. As she attempts to speak, her words are misinterpreted, or interspersed with giggles that I find incredibly cute. I don't actually wear gloves. My own reply is rather muffled on her chest instead of being addressed to her face. Should have known. The words quickly become irrelevant. Emi's movements are almost frantic, as if she's been holding something back since we met this morning, and now she has an outlet. Earlier caught off guard by her aggressiveness, feeling her nearly rip my shirt off, the way she seems to vie to be in dominant position. For my part, I confess that I'm caught up in her attitude as well, fighting back, rolling and wrestling even as I caress her breasts. God damn it. Even as her fingers dig into my shoulders and I lose track of where we are, we literally just did a scene like this. So much that I roll off the mat and land on something small and rather hard. Aha! Emi, still flushed and breathing a little heavily, peers at me and bursts into laughter. I'm sorry, are you alright? Yeah, I think so, not sure what I landed on though. Reach under my back and pull the offending object out, inspecting it closely. Personal lubricant, lemon flavored. Wait, what? Emi's eyes shoot upwards and she begins, if possible, to laugh even harder. Somehow I don't think this isn't track related. Oh man, I know whose that is. What? It's the track captain's. Ah, my old nemesis, or kind of. How do you know? It says. It appears I've asked a stupid question, or at least Emi thinks so. Because he's the one who told me the track shed was a good place for, what did he call them? Clandestine encounters? Oh, he invited you to or something? Emi bursts into more laughter. I confess the sight of a naked Emi laughing is oddly beautiful. I feel an eagerness to end the conversation and get back to what we were doing, despite my rather pointed questioning. Zhao, the track captain's gay. Uh-huh. Really, and here I initially thought you two were a couple. Well, I did have a crush on him when I first joined up, but he wasn't interested. Obviously. But we're good friends, I guess. I mean, he told me about all this, you know. I hesitate to ask. And really I do, but I ask anyway. But what does he need the loop for? What do you think, Izao? What do you think, Izao? I mean, he doesn't, how the hell does Emi always manage to not blush? Obviously he uses it for, you know, anal. She's... I try to suppress a snicker. I fail. Emi's giggling too. And he tells you about all this. Emi shrugs. Yeah, of course. He's kind of wild about the whole thing. Says it's a feeling that can't be beat. Uh-huh. The air in the track shed seems charged with some kind of horrible curiosity. That's interesting. Suppose I'll take his word for it. Well, birds outside stop chirping. The wind dies down. Somewhere a man is drinking a cup of coffee. He freezes with a cup at his lips. We could, maybe, try it. My jaw suddenly and spontaneously unhinges and hits the floor. What? Emi is finally blushing, rubbing the back of her head ruefully. Well, it's just that we really can't do what we did last night, you know? It wouldn't be safe, you know? I mean, it wasn't exactly a great idea last night. So, you know, we could try this to see if it, is as good. Well, yeah, basically. Huh. Okay, well, thank God that's all over. Halfway through the recording, and this has happened 2 times. Alright, well, definitely gonna have to do some censoring here. A sudden switch from pleasure to pain caused me to lose my balance, and I fall forward on top of Emi. Ow. Ow. Quickly roll off Emi and prop myself up, breathing heavily and trying to ignore the pain in my crotch. Emi yelps a little as she rolls over. She grabs a couple of tissues we kept handy earlier and cleans up before getting her panties back on, awkwardly leaning against the wall. Still breathing heavily, I decide to sit against the wall next to her. The feeling of the cool concrete against my sweating back is a welcome sensation. That hurt at the end. Yeah, this was probably not a great idea. Emi squirms in order to try and sit down beside me without too much pain. Judging by her wincing, it doesn't really work. I'm gonna have to have words with the captain. He was clearly lying. The utter and absolute ridiculousness of the situation suddenly hits, and I begin laughing. Emi shakes her head and begins laughing with me. Hey, Izao. Yep. We're never doing this again, right? Yeah, I think my curiosity is satisfied on this one. Emi nods, satisfied. Good. Think we should maybe stick to the basics, you know? I mean, most of this is new to me anyway. What do you mean, most? Emi grins impishly. I'll never tell. An unpleasant thought strikes me. Even more unpleasant is the thought of having to ask Emi about it. So after what I've just done, it should be a cakewalk. Hey, is there a sink? Kinda like to, wash off a little. Emi's jaw drops. In the sink? Well, there's not really anywhere else to do it, is there? And I want to avoid the smell that the nurse might notice. The most awkward conversation I've ever had? You're right. Yeah, it's on the back wall. Might be some soap, too. Thanks. There is, in fact, a little hand soap, which is better than nothing. No towel, though. Guess I'll have to drip dry. All finished. Yeah, that'll do for now. It's not like I'm gonna take a shower after we see the nurse. Glad to hear it. Now help me find my clothes. You tossed them somewhere. Hey, you were no better. How am I supposed to explain that hole in my shirt, huh? Yeah, sorry, I got a little excited earlier. Takes some time, but finally we're both more or less clothed. There's a frantic moment where neither of us knows where Emmy's wheelchair is, but I recall it going through the door and rescue it. Now be more careful going through the door this time, would you? Pumps are not my friend right now. I am so sorry we tried this. Emmy shrugs and grins. Well, it was worth a shot, right? And anyway, it was a good exercise, right? Can't argue that. As we make our way to the nurse's office, I notice that Emmy keeps shifting uncomfortably in her seat. God, this feels weird. Good thing I'm in a wheelchair, Zao. Why's that? Because now I don't have to explain to the nurse why I'm walking funny. Oh. We're never doing this again. The nurse is at least kind enough to not comment on the marks that Emmy left on my shoulders. Nor does he say a word about Emmy's constant shifting about in her wheelchair. Either he didn't notice or he didn't want to notice. All the same, I'm gonna have to make sure he didn't slip cyanide into my medication for a little while. Just to be safe. Whoops. I shower for longer than usual, just to be sure I'm clean of our little experiment, and then collapse on my bed. Class is in 20 minutes, so I can probably afford a nap. A nap for 20 minutes? Okay. Just a no. Oh, okay, I guess there's not going to be a little transition. Knock knock. Who's there? Knock knock. That's not how the joke goes at all. Knock knock. I already said who's there. More importantly, what time is it? Even more importantly, what day? I'm suddenly catapulted into wakefulness by both the fact that the knocking still has to stop and the fact that it's noon on a school day. Now fully awake, I can remember why I was napping. Better not give that excuse to Muto. So I wasn't in class, I was experimenting sexually with my girlfriend. That tired me out. Yeah, that'll go over well. Wonder how long this knocking is going to continue. Guess I ought to answer the door. Aw, yeah. I'm strangely unsurprised to see Kenji on the other side. Though it appears that Kenji is surprised to see me. What the hell are you doing here, man? Well, I was sleeping. Kenji nods in understanding. Knocked out, I see. Told you to be careful around that Ibahazaki chick, man. This is the sort of thing that happens when you aren't cautious. He makes an attempt to look at the back of my head. Did she hit you with something? Or was it a drug? Stop trying to touch me. Kenji produces a flashlight and shines it in my eyes. You got a concussion? I wasn't knocked out. Maybe you just don't remember. This conversation isn't going anywhere? No, I just had a tiring morning and fell asleep. Whatever, man. If you want to be in denial about this, I guess I can't stop you. But you gotta watch out for that girl, man. She's not safe. What? She's not safe to be around. She's one of the most sinister agents. If you're not careful, there's no telling what could happen. She's brought down stronger men than you know. The hell are you talking about? She's not an agent of anything. She didn't knock me out, okay? I also highly doubt that she's brought down anyone at all. Kenji looks almost offended. I have no idea why. You don't believe me? That's cold, man. Real cold. I'm just trying to look out for you. That's what friends do, you know? We're friends. I had no idea. Then again, I wonder if Kenji knows what being a friend even entails. I feel something like pity for him standing there before me. Maybe he does think he's looking out for me. I know. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for the warning. I hold out my hand as a sign of peace. Kenji shakes it gingerly, like my hand could possibly be on fire. There's an awkward silence for a few seconds before Kenji remembers that he's still shaking my hand. Anyway, I need a favor. What kind of favor? I'm out of money. No, you aren't. You got money kept in your desk drawer under a black notebook for emergencies. Did you ransack my room? That's not important. I don't need money anyway. He adopts a very serious tone. I'm about to undertake a major op. It'll blow the whole conspiracy wide open if I'm right. But it's dangerous, so I need you to do something for me in case I don't come back. Sure. Anything, man. What the hell is he planning on doing? Should I be telling someone about this? If I go missing, wait 3 days, and then mail my journal off to the newspapers. It's hidden in my room under a false bottom in one of the desk drawers. How do I get into your room? I don't have a key. Kenji looks at me like I'm crazy. So pick the lock. You know how to do that, right? It's an important skill to learn at a young age. Yeah, of course I know how. I'll be sure to do that for you if you go missing. I don't think I want to read Kenji's journal. Either way, Kenji seems pretty happy that I've agreed to do this thing for him. Great, man, great. I'll see you around. I got stuff to do. And he's gone, dashing down the hallway. He made it seem so final. I hope I don't have to carry out his final wishes. Shaking my head, I closed my door and walked back to my bed. Guess I should go to class, if only to catch the last half of the day. But I'd come this far without going to class today, and I did want to read more of that Hawking book Muto lent me. I'm sure I'll understand. Knock knock. This time the noise jerks my attention away from my book. An experience not unlike being woken up. Who's there? Me, aren't you glad? The voice is muffled through the door, but unmistakably Emmy's. I hop up and open the door, smiling broadly. May, nice to see you again. Emmy grins back, staring up at me from a wheelchair. Yeah, you would have seen me earlier, but the damned elevator wasn't working. Had to wait for them to fix it. You'd think they could keep the better order, but no. Chuckle a little bit of her vexed expression and invite her in. She wheels in easily, and with my help, she hops onto my bed. Something better not happen here, by the way. 3 times in one video is a bit too much for me to handle. There's much more comfortable than that stupid chair. Sigh of contentment hangs in the air, and for a minute we both just stare at one another. It's at that point I notice the circles under Emmy's eyes. They're not that dark, but they definitely weren't there before. Before I can ask about them, Emmy fixes her with a mischievous stare. So I couldn't help but notice you weren't at lunch today. In fact, I don't think I saw you at all. What happened, I fell asleep. Actually didn't wake up until lunch, and only then because Kenji woke me up. What had you so tired, A strenuous workout this morning, slightly uncomfortable too. Emmy coughs, a half laughing, half embarrassed noise. Remind me not to do that again. No problem, it wasn't exactly great for me either, to be honest. We'll just avoid that from now on. Are you still sore? Emmy stares at me in disbelief. What? It's a legitimate question. Of all the questions I never thought I'd be asked, that's one of them. Well, I didn't expect to ever have to ask it, so we're even. Emmy laughs at this. I guess so, huh? Well, since you asked, yes, I'm still a little sore. We're never doing that again. No arguments from here. A yawn escapes her and I raise an eyebrow. Tired? Emmy nods sleepily. Haven't slept well. Not sleeping well. I could tell she didn't mean to tell me this either, because she gives a little start like she's just been caught lying and hastens to add. It's not a big deal, though. What's the trouble? Emmy shrugs and refuses to elaborate, stressed over exams. Another shrug, but after a pause, Emmy nods hesitantly. Yeah, I guess. Actually, that's why I stopped by. She begins to look more and more miserable. Not so you'd notice, of course, but her eyes are on her lap. She's fidgeting with her, and her voice is quiet. We need to stop hanging out so much. Huh? Why? Emmy takes a deep breath, like she's been practicing this. Because you're too much fun to be around. I can't concentrate when you're near me. With exams coming up soon, I just can't have that distraction. Otherwise, my grades will be pretty lousy, I'm afraid. I could help you study. She smiles at me, clearly unhappy with the situation. I'd love if you could, but we wouldn't actually study, would we? I mean, even now I'm trying to have a conversation with you, but I kind of just want to, not converse. Overwhelmed by my rugged manliness, I understand. That earns me a grin, at least. Emmy shakes her head. Idiot, you're full of yourself. Well, I am pretty irresistible. More or less, I guess. So what's the situation, Izao? So that's the situation, Izao. I have too much fun around you, and if I'm going to go into exams prepared, I need to be it alone. That's okay. It really seems to have been bothering her. Besides, it's only a couple of weeks, and we'll still see each other in the mornings and at lunch. We can just hang out at school, no problem. And after exams, we'll go on a date to celebrate their being over, okay? Emmy grins, pleased by this proposal. Yeah, sure, that sounds great. As if to signal the end of the conversation, she leans in and kisses me. The rest of the night is not spent worrying about exams. This route, though. It's weird how easily Emmy and I can keep from seeing one another after class now. Actually, I'd venture to say it's vaguely disturbing. As easily as we'd come together, we seem to have split apart without much trouble. I guess that's not exactly true. We'd both been pretty bummed after the last night together. And we get to see each other every morning for our runs, and just our runs, I might add. Lunch too, I especially enjoy lunchtime with her. We have plenty of time to talk about everything outside of school, whereas the morning runs become increasingly businesslike. I think it's because Emmy wants to make up for our foolery in the storage shed. But no matter how much we joke at lunch, I can't help but feeling a little worried about her. She seems distracted more often, and I've caught her fidgeting nervously more than once. Never figured her to be someone who cared that deeply about exams, but they certainly seem to be taking their toll, even though they haven't even started. This is just the run-up, the deep breath before the plunge. Tomorrow the real trials begin, or the real exams anyway. As for me, I don't actually feel that worried about exams at all. I'm not sure why. I mean, they're pretty important. My scores here will determine my odds of getting into a good university. Hell, if I'm too cavalier about it, now it could spell doom for my academic career. But going into them, I feel confident they'll come out the other side okay. Muto thinks I got the science examination locked up at any rate. Or, as he says, the last thing you should give you trouble in my exam is how it's way beneath your talents. Then again, it is Muto who's telling me this. His praise of me carries the veiled implication that anything less than perfection for me would be a disappointment, which actually has caused me to fret more than I should about the exam. It's for that reason I find myself in the library after class poring over the textbook. Pretty simple things to look over, some formulas of velocity, a few bits about friction. A walk in the park compared to my dreaded English exam never was good with languages. As I flip through my notes one more time, my mind begins to wander. After these exams are over, things should get easier. Soon we'll be graduated, then off to college, hopefully. I remember my abortive attempt to find out what Emmy plans to do after high school. She avoided the subject pretty deftly, as I recall. Heck, it seems that just about every time I push too hard, she dances around the subject, or distracts me through other means. Like a few days ago at lunch when Rin wasn't around. I've done it. Unsettled from my reverie by Yuko's triumphant shout. Yuko seems mortified at my sudden starting. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, I just got... And I wasn't it just that... As she stutters, I move quickly to calm her down before she gets too agitated. Whoa, hey. My words seem ineffective. Yuko continues to work herself into a complete frenzy. In this library, and I shouldn't be... Easy there, just calm down. And really, I'm setting a bad example, and now I'll get fired because I can't do anything right. Yuko. Shouting seems to work, though I draw the ire of several other students studying in the library. Yuko snaps to attention like a soldier who's just heard the captain bark an order. Sorry. Calm down, it's okay. You just startled me a little, and that's only because I was daydreaming instead of studying. So earlier you got me back on task. This is a complete lie, but it seems to work. Yuko takes a deep breath and seems to calm down a little. Though she keeps shifting around with a nervous energy that seems awfully familiar. So, what's got you so excited anyway? The Yamaku cat burglar. To her credit, Yuko manages to convey her intense excitement in a whisper. I think I know who it is. I got an anonymous tip as to their identity. So I did some spying, and I think the tipster was right. Really, and who is this burglar? Yuko shuts her mouth, shaking her head decisively. Nope, I can't tell you that. Why not? It's between me and the burglar. I can't risk you warning him that I'm onto his game. He could tip his hand early and blow town. Then I'm left with no perp. When did Yuko start talking like a hard-boiled detective? I wouldn't warn them, why would I care? If you've got to ask that question, then you don't need to know. It doesn't make any sense, but okay. Congratulations, I guess. Thanks. What for? The, cat burglar thing? Yuko nods and smiles appreciatively. So, studying for exams? Well, that was the plan. I'm not having much luck, though. Really is because you can't find a book? I'm really sorry. I've been meaning to clean the shelves out for weeks now, but I keep getting distracted. I'm so sorry. Whoa, wait. It's not that. I got my book right here. To illustrate the point and hopefully calm Yuko down, I show her the textbook in front of me. My mind just keeps wandering as all. Is it because of the noise in here? I'm trying to be more strict about the noise levels, but I can't bring myself to yell at people. I mean, aren't their lives hard enough without me throwing my authority around? No, it's not the noise level either, I promise. I'm just... Hell, I don't know. Worried about Emmy. Worried about us. Worried about what happens after we graduate. Emmy's been kinda weird lately. What do you mean? Well, you know how we're dating now. I just don't know that we're actually, a couple, or at least I don't know that we're beyond friends. Though friends normally don't do the sort of things we do. Physically, we're a couple. Coupling, at least. It's like every time I try to find out more about her, or about what she wants to do with her life, she dodges the question. Like the other day, I was talking to her at lunch about some schools I've been looking into, and asked her, have you looked into any schools lately? She shrugs in response, says no, and when I ask why not, she says that she doesn't think that far ahead. I asked why she had that policy, and I suddenly realized that I'm about to start describing, and wisely decide to clam up. She what? She changed the subject. Wouldn't talk about it. Maybe it's an uncomfortable subject for her. Or she just doesn't think it needs explaining. Yeah, but it's not just that. Every time I try to find out what's been bothering her, she changes the subject too. It's like she likes being with me, but not getting close to me. Now that I've said it aloud, I feel worse. You could digest this bit of information. It seems to me that you're more serious about this than she is. I can almost feel my stomach twist into a knot. She's right. That's exactly what it seems like. But is that really what's going on? I mean... Sorry, I'm just talking nonsense. You shouldn't take my advice, you barely know me. I'm just a librarian, I'm single, so you can imagine I can't know what I'm talking about. No, I think you have a point. As much as it hurts me to even consider it, Yuko seems to try desperately to find a way to soften the blow somewhat. Look, I'm probably wrong, but if you want to be sure of how obviously wrong I am, maybe you should just talk to her. Get some time alone and just ask about it. And don't let her change the subject either. Yeah, maybe I should do that. Or maybe I should just enjoy what I have. We have fun hanging out after all, and the runs are nice, and the other activities are nice, and talking to her is nice. Do I really need to get closer to her? Or what I've got right now is pretty good. But that's silly. I want to get closer to her. I want to be able to help her out with whatever is bothering her. But maybe I should wait until after exams are over. Maybe she'll brighten up once the stress has passed. If she does, then I don't need to worry about it anymore. But if she doesn't, well, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I thank Yuko for her advice and head back to my room. Maybe I'll be able to concentrate more on my studies in there. Alrighty. Anyway, alright, well I think I'm just gonna end it there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. I'm gonna have to go censor this now.